Hey everybody, it's the Mad Master here. I'm doing another video. It's been quite a long time. I'm just trying out this new software that I may or may not purchase that was recommended to me by someone on YouTube, as a matter of fact. And I'm going to see how it goes, but this is kind of a delayed response to the Aziz Ansari situation that happened a couple months ago. And I have my thoughts on it. If you don't already know, he got in trouble with this article that this woman that had a date with him and had this really awkward sexual encounter with him had. And I forgot, was it a Bustle or some blog site? They managed to kind of accuse him of some things and try to maybe tarnish his reputation a little bit. Now, at first, I must say that because I'm not like, I really haven't really seen a lot of Aziz Ansari comedy. I've been trying to get more into comedy lately than I was, because I was still just watching George Carlin over and over again, or whatever, you know, or listening to the Jerky Boys, all the stuff that you know, the older generations comedic likings, I guess you'd say. But I wouldn't say that necessarily I was not hip to anything new. I mean, I do go to like open mic comedy every once in a while, and you know, I do check out some new comedians like newer Jim Jeffries, you know, some other people like that, and like Doug Stanhope. Well, he's not new, obviously, but anyways, so I'm not really too familiar with Ansari's comedy. I read the article, and it actually, like I said, at first I was kind of like, oh my god, not this shit again, you know. Not all this fucking bullshit. Because it seems like, you know, everybody and their fucking butler was accused of something when the Me Too thing started going on. So I was like kind of defensive at first. But upon reading the aforementioned article, I kind of came to a realization. And I'm not going to call it sexual assault, what he did. I'm not going to say that it was, you know, anything close to rape or anything like that. But, however, I will say this. He definitely seems to be like one of those guys, at least in this situation, that could not read signals that are pretty obvious. And I don't know his side of the situation and, you know, all that stuff. But I'm going to give it a little bit of, a situation that is hypothetical. So I'm really enamored of the 80s, 70s, 60s rock lifestyle where you get groupies and all that stuff, you know. I've kind of like fantasized about living that for a long time. Actually, not for a totally long time, because it was, you know, I used to be such a fucking like chump with women, and it was like the opposite. I was like, I gotta get married. I'm gonna die if I don't meet my soulmate. So I used to be like that. Now I'm like somewhere in the middle, you know, with all that stuff. But you know, for a while, you know, I believed in the opposite, you know. As far as like, you know, I'm sort of in the middle. I'm just open to a lot of different stuff. That's one of my point is. But as far as like this groupie thing, I find it really interesting to read about and to think about. So my hypothetical thing is that why this is on a different digression, why the Me Too movement hasn't hit like rock stars quite as much as some of these other people in the entertainment business is that rock and roll has been kind of like this sexual thing where the women that are involved in that scene are a little bit more expressive of their intent, and then simultaneously the guys that are in that scene can read into that intent a little better because of their experience. So, I mean, one of the guys from Motley Crue in the 80s, you know, I'm sure there was fucking sketchy situations with girls all the time. But I would say they probably had enough experience to read, you know, these guys have enough experience to read. If they weren't wasted totally, like on drugs or alcohol, they probably had a little bit more of a gauge as far as reading if a girl is turned on or not, is my point. And Ansari in that article seems like he just didn't know what the hell he was doing some of the time. It's just like, you know, even I could, like, I'm not like extremely experienced with women and stuff, and you know, I've had girlfriends, I've, you know, obviously had sex maybe a couple hundred times. I'm trying to, you know, more, not thousands of times, obviously. So I you know, I'm a normal human being, maybe somewhat below average with that, but not, you know, a virgin by any means. So I could read, like, when I was reading the article, my point is I was reading the article and I could see where he went wrong in the situation. And I was just like, oh man, what the fuck is he doing? You know, it's just like, ugh. I don't know if it's just like this generational thing or just the way he was just being, you know, it just didn't make any sense. It's like, also, like they say, you know, with sex and attracting, you know, in that, I'm gonna use this word seduction. I guess you're gonna use the word seduction. I hate to use that word, controversial as it is. In a seduction situation, or where you're trying to, you know, get laid or whatever, his lack of tact was kind of apparent in some of these circumstances. I'm just like, come on, man. You're a fucking famous comedian. There's other women out there. Obviously, she's kind of disturbed and troubled in some way, at least about this situation, maybe more than that. And it's like, I don't know. I just found it like very naive on his part as far as how he underwent this or went through this situation. Naive in this kind of nefarious way. And it's like a lot of people, you know, when you're first, it seemed like almost like an inexperienced thing. For a famous guy that's obviously had sex, he seemed like he was like a virgin, like, guy that just got on the football team and is with a sorority for the first time with his, like, jock friends egging him on to get laid really fast. So he's in this situation with this girl where he could say, oh, well, I fucked that girl last night. You know, it seemed like kind of like some kind of like 80s movie with some kind of scummy jock guy or something, you know. Just the way some of the stuff that I read with that. So my whole point is that my thing with the Ansari thing is like, well, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. He didn't assault her per se, but he was just kind of a fool, you know. So I think like a lot of these situations go down a lot faster than what he was doing. And you know, if you want to go into like this, like pickup artist community stuff from like 10-15 years ago, where they talked about like what was it, the provider versus lover thing, like. He was kind of doing the more provider thing, whereas he just, you know, like taking her out to dinner and all that shit, rather than going into the lover thing, which is like just, you know, oh, let's go back to my place, we'll have a drink, blah blah blah, and you know, it seemed like it was kind of ridiculous. So that's my whole point. I just think these situations aren't black and white. So I know I've done some kind of weird videos about Me Too to some people. You know, I have a controversial opinion about it. I don't like it overall because I think through the filter of outrage culture and social media culture, I think any kind of movement of that, like that, is can be borderline dangerous because it's just so, this instantaneous gratification by shaming people immediately without any thought is dangerous. And it's not that Harvey Weinstein or Bill Cosby or any of these people don't deserve to be shamed and all that, but it just, the way that it's being implemented, I question. And I question, you know, people questioning Matt Damon for saying something that they didn't agree with and then fucking shaming him on Twitter about it, even though he didn't do anything. He just said something that people didn't agree with. So I don't know if this will be my last video about the Me Too thing. I want to do maybe more, but this is kind of a late video because I'm trying to get back into the swing of things with videos and also get shit going with this new software and all that. But that's all I got to say.